Hey guys, we're back at my house. This is my family's personal project. We started out as a remodel and now it's turned into a new construction house. It's been a really fun build, but I've actually made a couple of mistakes along the way, and that's what today's video is going to be. I'm going to show you 4 things that I've messed up in this process. Hopefully you can learn something from that. First up, a little cell phone video I made last week. Let's get going. Have you ever walked up to a job site and immediately your heart sank? You saw something on the job and realized, oh no, we made a big mistake. I've been gone for a day or a couple of hours and work progressed in the wrong way. Well, that's exactly what happened to me yesterday. I walked up to the job, I'd been on a conference call for a couple hours and realized, oh no, this base wall detail got done totally wrong. Now you've seen me do this detail a lot. I really like to air seal and waterproof the bottom of the house. Unfortunately, the guys did it with the wrong product though. We were using this for air sealing. This is a European product, Contiga HF from 475 Supply. It's meant to air seal where the bottom plate of the house hits the concrete to air seal that joint, but the guys use it as a base wall flashing. That's not its intended purpose. They did it on like 2/3 of the house. I said, all right, don't worry about it. We'll scrape it off tomorrow. So this is tomorrow. We scraped as much as we could. It's hard to get off. It's got a pretty good adhesive property to it. We got off as much as we could, but this is really the right product to use for this. This is Argard joint and seam filler. This one has some fiber reinforcement on it. It's a fluid applied flashing. You put it in one of these, which is a sausage tube. And what we did was we took some blue tape and we blue taped on the top and the bottom and applied that here. Now you can see we actually scraped a little bit of the facer off when we were scraping it off. I've got another detail though that's going to cover that with some zip tape later, but I'll show you that. But what I wanted to do was test this. We put a little 4-inch bead on here, inch down in the concrete, 2 or 3 inches up on the zip. This is meant to air seal and waterproof this joint right here so no bugs will get in, no air, no water. We're going to let this dry a couple hours and make sure that it adheres okay to this. And if it works, we'll do the whole house of this. But I want you to realize that mistakes happen to me too. Even with the best trained guys, the best trained crew, sometimes mistakes happen. It's one of the things I love about the job, and it's also hard about being a builder, is that you know, there's problems that need solved on a regular basis, and that's why it's not an easy job. But I think this is going to take care of it. We'll pick this back up after we've had a chance to let this dry. All right, so earlier today I posted about my little oops, my little boo-boo. Let's see how our Prosco is sticking to this. So remember I mentioned we've got this issue right here. This has been on since, gosh, what time did I do that? Noon or so. It's 7 o'clock right now. This looks like it's holding up just fine and sticking really well to that. The guys did that section. You can see they've taped down here as well to get ready. So that's the detail we're going to use for this base flashing. I was going to try some other methods and maybe try a few different methods. But to be honest, now that we know that Prosco sticks perfectly to my issue, let's stick with that. That's totally the way to go. I've done that a bunch. I've made some videos on that. So that's going to be our base wall flashing. Now we do have a 2x2 detail to receive the bottom of our insulation. I'll get into that tomorrow, but I thought I'd walk the house and see what it looks like tonight. All right, so it's been about a week, and last time I was here with my cell phone, we saw this Prosco right here. So this is their joint and seam filler, and we did that joint between the concrete and the house. But you may have seen that as we scraped that other material off, which I'm not sure that I mentioned earlier, that's a water-based material, so that's definitely not a good one for waterproofing. Then we put this 2x2 on the outside, and that 2x2 is ultimately going to receive our foam on the outside of the house. Now this video is not about the foam, we'll get to that later, but the idea is we wanted to receive the bottom of that foam. I wanted a pressure treated bottom here so that bugs, things are not going to get up into my foam layer. And then after that 2x2 went on, I wanted a through wall flashing, a way that if water is back here at the zip, it's going to come down and come out. So now that it's all said and done, I think we're all set. It definitely cost me a little bit of extra time and money on material and labor with that mistake, but you know, mistakes happen. Now, one last thing I did want to mention is this foundation is the original 70s foundation. It never got parged back here. That's basically like a stucco coat over the concrete. So we'll do that, and when we do that, we'll also cover up this joint and seam, because this needs to be protected from UV on the outside. So this will all look pretty and protected when it's all said and done. So able to fix that. Let's go look at mistake number 2. All right, I'm not sure if you've seen my upstairs yet. We've finished framing this not too long ago. Quick tour, then I'll show you the mistake. Upstairs family room. I'm super excited about this space. Hall bath right here. 2 bedrooms in the back that I've actually combined into one, because all 3 of my boys will bunk together. And then this room right here is my daughter's bedroom. Now here's what the mistake is, and you can probably see it right away when you walk into the room. What is this right here? We've got a header and seemingly a window to nowhere. Well, here's what happened. When we laid out the plans, Kit Johnson's my architect, he did a great job of laying out the windows with symmetry, giving some great view. But as Kim Truss, my interior designer, walked the house with us in the frame stage, she said, gosh, where are we going to put the furniture for your daughter's room? And I think it's actually too much to have 3 windows in here. So here was the hard part for me. I hate seeing extra framing and having an extra header, because that's a greatly reduced amount of insulation. But on the other hand, I've got that 2 inches of Atlas polyiso on the outside of the house. So even this header right here has R13 outboard of it. Typically wood's about R1 per inch. So even this header spot right here is still providing us with around R17 or so in that particular location, which means that I'm not as worried about reframing this and pulling the header out. Also, this is going to be a long-term house for me. My current house, I've been almost 14 years, so I'm going to be here for a while as well. When my daughter goes to college, leaves the house, this could end up being, you know, a home office for me or my wife, let's say. I may want to add that window, so I'm actually going to leave that header in place. But ultimately, it was a mistake. I should have thought a little more critically about furniture placement and all of my rooms. I should have engaged my interior designer earlier on in the process. I didn't hire until after the plans were complete. This really is several lessons learned on this one. Okay, next, let's go check out the outside. I've got another lesson for you. All right, here's another mistake I made that I actually caught during the framing stage. We're on the roof right above my master here. Nice low pitch, only a 312 pitch roof. And as the framers were putting the roof rafters up, they put the very first one on, and the windows here on this wall were already framed out. And from across the street, I said in my mind, uh-oh, there's not a lot of room between the window and the roof. I actually captured that on my phone. Let's take a look at that real quick. And then we've got an insulation detail on top of the roof. So as we were framing that, I realized that we had a discrepancy between the architectural and the building science details. See how those windows are too tight to those rafter bottoms? It looks like there's only, I don't know, 6-7 inches there. I've got 5 inches of buildup going on top of that roof, which leaves not enough room for flashing correctly. So I need to shorten up those windows. Uh-oh, little mistake. All right, so here's what happened. Basically, those rafters when they were framed were way up here, and I knew that I had buildup on my roof, but the other thing you always need to be cautious on your windows, especially when they're in a roof area, is how much room do I have for my receiver flashings? It was way too tight before. So if you look on the inside, you'll see that's the original sill if you kind of peek through this window. We added about 6 inches to this, which means I had to shrink down these windows that were going in this space right here. Kind of a bummer. Had to reorder these windows. But the point is, you need room, especially between roofs and windows. That's something you need to be looking for on your plan stage. And even more so in this case, because I've got this rooftop foam detail. I haven't talked about it a whole lot yet, but I've got two 2-inch layers of Atlas foam going on top of this zip system. So the zip system sheathing here is really acting as my air barrier, making sure that's complete. Then I've got rooftop foam. Then I'm gonna add another layer of zip sheathing on top. And you've seen my outriggers on this house, those little sticks that are poking out. That's gonna be my umbrella, as I mentioned before in that Monopoly framing video. The big umbrella is that final zip system sheathing that will go on top of all that. and then I'll have my roof on top of that. So I needed that space on here. Total oops moment when I was standing on the street. You know, I've been building for 25 years. Feels like a rookie mistake, but you know what, it can happen to all of us. Let's go see another one. All right, next up, when I received my JELD-WEN window package order, a light bulb went off in my head and I said, uh-oh. I'd actually my original intention on this project, as you remember, was a remodel. And it was Bill Wood, my framer, and I that made the kind of game time call. You know what? There's so much rot, there's so many issues. We've got the ceiling height issue. We're gonna go ahead and reframe the house. But what I didn't think about was I'd already ordered my JELD-WEN window package. Now this was one of the windows that was going in that pop-up, and that pop-up originally was only on the back side of the house. There was basically a shed roof on the front that went all the way to the back, and those windows were back here. There was no windows facing the front. And when we went from remodel to new build, I said to my architect, Kit Johnson, hey, we can't change, obviously, the footprint of the house. We can't change the square footage, but is there anything architecturally that you would change or that would make the house better? And the first thing he said was, let me look at this stairwell on this pop-up. And ultimately, he was right. That stairwell, by popping it up, instead of having a shed roof, now it pops all the way up out. It enabled us to get a ton more light into that stairwell. But what I didn't think about was my windows were in order on the previous plan. And now I've got a new plan with more windows. And in fact, the mistake I made earlier where I shrunk those windows didn't hurt me because those windows weren't on order. These were. So I have basically 3 extra windows now that I'm not going to use, and I had to reorder those. Little tip though, as I'm thinking about this, when I received my window package from JELD-WEN, one thing that I always like to do is I like to go through and look at every single window, compare it to the window schedule and the elevations and the plan, and then mark where they all go. That way the frame carpenter who's installing my windows later knows exactly. So you'll see I marked on here just with a little sticky tape. By the way, 3M's got a new job site tough Post-it notes. No affiliation with those guys, but I do like these. I've got a 36 by 60 window. That's 3 feet wide, 6 foot tall. It's showing it's a fixed window here. And then I'm labeling it the window number per the schedule, and I'm putting it where it goes. That allows me as the builder to know that everything's labeled and it's going to get put in the right spot if I happen to not be around when the framers are doing it. It's real easy to flip-flop if you have similar window sizes, a fixed and let's say a casement, which the only thing you can tell sometimes is just a handle or a crank is the only real difference between those window sizes. Okay, 5th and final. I've got one more that's probably the most painful for me. Let's go take a look at that. All right, and my 5th and final mistake for this video, certainly not my last mistake, is this. I changed from 8-foot ceiling heights in the house to 9 foot, and I gotta say, what a difference. These 9-foot ceilings are amazing. It's allowing me to insulate on the floor and bring this floor level up, to put a subfloor in on hardwood floors, and I still have plenty of room. I've never lived in a 9-foot ceiling house before. I'm really excited. I've only had 8 foot. But check this out, my header heights. My header heights were set at 6'8", assuming I had 8-foot ceilings. So my kitchen windows right there, I've got 3 kitchen windows. I've got a big slider off my dining room space in the middle here. And then this area with the vaulted ceilings, this is my family room. I have a TV there, and I've got 2 fixed windows on either side. Now what do I do about that? This one I actually don't know. I'd love your comments below. I've got 9-foot ceilings in here, plus the vault. In the kitchen, just a flat 9-foot ceiling. Do I stick with the 6'8", or do I change the height on this? Unfortunately, my doors and windows are already here for this section. Now my front door I hadn't ordered yet. That actually is going to be a JELD-WEN front door unit as well, and I was able to change that. So I've got 7'6" as my header height for the front door. We're able to take advantage of that height a little bit more, and that still gives me plenty of room for my structure, for my header that I need above that door. But back here, you can see I've got space above those headers, but I'm hesitant to spend the money to reframe it. And then what do I do with these windows? Would I have this awkward high sill height? I couldn't use that door anymore if I did that. Anyways, I'd love to know your comments on this. Comment below on this, and comment below if you have any tips for the younger builders that are watching this on these mistakes I've made. You know, these are all things that I should have caught, but I didn't. I mean, that is part of the construction world, is you just
You have to think on your feet. You have to be a good problem solver. Things never go perfectly. We're not building BMWs in a factory here, right? Anyways, I wanted you to know that I'm not perfect. Mistakes happen. Even on the best jobs with the best supervision, you're going to have problems, and it's how you overcome them that ultimately makes sometimes for a better project, and I think that could be the case here. If you're not currently a subscriber, hit that subscribe button below. We've got new content every Tuesday and every Friday. And oh, by the way, speaking of builder training, if you're not following what's going on my BuildShowNetwork.com, you need to get on there. I've got several other builders, 3 other builders, plus Steve Basic, an architect, shooting videos on their job sites, training that next generation of builders. And I got to say, even in my age, 25 years of building, I'm learning something every time I watch one of those guys on their job sites talking about what they do, because every job, every state, everybody does it differently, and to be able to see what they're doing in their jobs and learn from them, super invaluable no matter how old you are, no matter how many years of experience you have. Anyways, follow me on Twitter or Instagram. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on The Build Show.